KevinJJohnston here, Canada's #1 tax expert. Recently, I've had a number of clients move away from an accountant named Mark Jones and come over to me. I'm solving tax problems left, right, and center, and Mark Jones is causing problems for people. That's correct. He's actually making it so that when you go to him to get your taxes done, that not only are you paying him at over $300 an hour, but you still owe the tax money. In some cases, you owe more than what you did before you went to go and see this guy. Mark Jones is the official accountant for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Canadian Football League. Now I know why they're broke. If you have a listen to this guy, you can hear that he is completely and totally CRA compliant. This guy is terrified of the Canada Revenue Agency. All the questions that I ask seem to drive him further and further away from wanting to do business with a real man or people in general and do business solely with the CRA. In my view, this guy is going out of his way to find victims to give the CRA more money. And that's not what an accountant's job is. An accountant's job is to make sure that you don't pay tax. You won't pay tax with me, but you will with this guy. Have a listen to the conversation.
Hello, Mark speaking.
Oh, hey, is this Mark Jones?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I hear that you're the best of the best in the business there for accounting. You apparently do the Blue Bombers taxes. Is that right?
Well, the best of the best, you absolutely have right. I can't discuss other clients, but without question, I'm amazing.
Okay, so I'll let you wink, wink. I get that. Totally get that. All right, so we have a pair of corporations here, and we're in some hot water. We're based just outside of Brandon, and we need an accountant from the big city. And I'm sorry, my name's David Jones. I should have introduced myself. Terribly sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the way that it works is we got about $500K in payroll debt and about $300K in GST debt on one of the corporations, and I need to know how we can wipe out all of that debt. Is that something you can get done for us?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly take a look at it. There isn't necessarily a way. We're not bankruptcy trustees.
No, we don't want to do no bankruptcy.
Payroll
No bankruptcy. We want someone to do our taxes and get rid of those debts. Go ahead.
So how do we? I'd have to take a look at it. Why do you think getting it done will erase the debt? Has CRA raised notional assessments? You don't think you owe it?
Well, this woman called me from CRA, didn't speak English, and she told me that I was going to do jail time if I didn't comply with her demands. She told me that she was going to take my house and my kids. Yeah, she said all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm thinking, something doesn't quite sit right. But let me get your thoughts on that.
I can't speak to anybody's collection activity. You probably aren't going to do jail time unless there's fraud involved or something like that. Anyway, let me take a look at it. Let's get a plan together, and then we can go from there. If that's all.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. But before I put everything into a box and drive it over to you, is there any way to get it down to zero? Payroll and GST debt?
I don't know. The only way to get it down to zero is if they've raised notional assessments and they're incorrect. Failing that, you're going to have to pay it. We can look at trying to reduce interest and penalties, and I'm just speaking broadly here because I don't know the situation, but if there's some reason that we can apply for taxpayer relief to reduce interest and penalties, something like that, we'll look at whatever options there are. But there's not a magic wand we can wave to get rid of it all.
What if we just sold the business to somebody else?
So the reason I talked about bankruptcy first is that as a director, I assume you're a director of the corporation. As a director, you're personally liable for it. So selling the corporation to somebody else, the corp still owes it, and you as a director at the time could be held personally liable for it.
How?
Payroll and GST are considered trust funds. It's not like corporate tax. So they're considered trust funds. So CRA takes a different view of it, and they can hold you personally liable as a director, any or all of the directors of the corporation.
Okay, but what if we sold it under, with a really good due diligence statement, contract, and research being done, and the person who buys it from us just says they want it, regardless of how much debt there is? what then?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's willing to take it on and pay it, sure.
Okay. What if they take it on and don't pay it though? I'm really kind of scratching my head here on that one.
Yeah, then you're back to the. Again, I'm speaking very hypothetically because I don't know the situation. But if they take it on and don't pay it, they're going to come after the directors at the time, which would be you.
I see, and that wouldn't
Now,
be that
there's
wouldn't be
personal
fraud.
bankruptcy. There's personal bankruptcy options. There's all kinds of stuff. Again, we don't do that, but it's a discussion to have with a trustee. And I know nobody likes the idea of it, but when you're talking about $800,000 plus interest accumulating, you should explore all of your options.
Yeah, but I heard, maybe you could tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but I heard that trustees don't actually work for me; they work for the CRA.
No, trustees work for you.
Really? Are they lawyers?
They're bankruptcy trustees, so they work under the Insolvency Act. They're not lawyers per se, but they're specialists in bankruptcy.
But don't they snitch on me with everything I've got to my creditors?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it snitch, but yes, you do have to have full disclosure of all the assets that you have, and as a first time bankrupt. You can be out and clean within a relatively short amount of time, have the bankruptcy discharged. I don't know what it means for the CRA debt. I don't know what you have, but it's worth a conversation with the trustee.
I see.
It really is.
Okay. And because I was threatened with jail time, and you just said I can't do jail time, should I just call the police on this person? File charges?
I don't know. I can't speak to the legalities of what they said or didn't say and that sort of thing. You could certainly call back and file a complaint if you feel like the person was unfair. If they're threatening you with jail time and they actually work for CRA, and they talked about family and things like that, yeah, that's offside. I don't know that it is or isn't a crime, but it's certainly not okay, and you could certainly file a complaint.
Okay, but the complaint to who?
With Canada Revenue Agency.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Would they actually do anything against their own staff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they would.
Really? What do they do?
Yep. I've seen one not that long ago where there was a very aggressive agent that I learned later was no longer employed by CRA. I have no idea what happened behind the scenes, whether the person left, whether they got fired, whether they won the lottery. I don't know. All I know is they don't work for CRA anymore. So they do take it seriously. They really do. If their agents are sort of crossing the line, they take it pretty seriously.
Okay, so let's get back to the conversation then. I don't want to pay this $800,000 of debt. How do we get rid of it?
I would talk to the bankruptcy trustee. Is everything? So tell me a little bit about it. Is everything filed and up to date? Do you agree with that? Is the number legitimate?
Oh, I have no idea. The accountant that we had was high on cocaine the last time I talked to him. Literally, he was sniffing cocaine off of a long. You know how cocaine addicts, they got the long pinky nail. He was actually doing cocaine off his pinky nail. And I'm sitting in his office watching this guy go sniff, poke his nose, poke his eyes. This guy was out of his mind. So I disagree with everything he did. And he went ahead and did our taxes for the last 3 years without any of us even reading it or signing it.
Got it. And have you paid tax? Have you paid source? Who does your payroll? How do you get to $500,000 in payroll?
Well, we got a whole bunch of staff. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of staff, but no one's really good at it here. I kind of got hired, and I bought into the company, which I should not have done about 5 years ago, and I realize now that no one's doing anything. The company's making money, but I don't know where does all this debt come from? I guess it's the staff, maybe some of the contractual truck drivers. Maybe things are just being done incorrectly. I mean, it sounds like maybe you should be doing our books right back.
Yeah, if you don't think the number's right, one of the things you definitely need to do is make sure that you're comfortable with the number. I mean, it's a big number. Maybe it is correct. Maybe it's not. Okay. Well, I got to talk to the guys here. What do you charge? You know what? It depends. So our hourly rate, my rate's $2.85. Our bookkeeper rate is $80 an hour, and then sort of varies in between there. My suggestion is, if you want to move forward, I'd like to see the years that you don't disagree with, the things that gave rise to the debt. Put all that together. Let's have a meeting. There's no charge for that. Let's just have a quick meeting. Let me have a look at it.
10 years. I would have to go back 10, maybe even 15 years. How far back can we go to fix this problem?
3 years. You can go back 3 years.
3?
To make adjustments.
Yeah, really?
That's
3 years?
Will allow. Yeah. They go back 3 years, you go back 3 years. So it depends on when everything was filed.
But hold on a second here. The CRA, they've been going back 15 to 20 years, and they're finding all these tax shelter things. Like my uncle just got hit with a tax shelter thing from 2005.
So there are exceptions to it, but the general rule for adjustments for both CRA and taxpayers is 3 years. If there's something, there's situations with tax shelters, the comic book things and all of that stuff that was going on. If CRA has filed an objection, done the paperwork the right way, they can go back to an event that occurred that far back. But apples and oranges from something like that to something like I need to file adjustments.
Really? Okay. So there are some guys out there that say they can go back 10 to 20 years on taxes. Are they full of shit? What's going on?
So everything is situational. Generally speaking, I don't know anything other than the conversation we've had. So generally speaking, you can go back 3 years from the date of the notice of assessment. If they filed everything in the last couple of years, well, now we can go back a little bit farther. In terms of being able to go back 10 to 20 years, generally speaking, no, you can't.
I got an idea. Okay, you said assessment. That's a pretty cool point you just brought up there. So what if we went back, let's say, 10 years on our taxes, and they assessed everything, and they don't like what we did, so they gave us this really big number. Could we then use that objection form the CRA has at that point? Like, because I think we could trick them, right? Could we trick them into assessing 10 years of taxes and then appealing what they do?
I'm not sure I would say we're going to trick them into something. I mean, there's rules around and opportunities to appeal things. There are time limits for it. And we would look to make sure we take advantage of every opportunity that's there within the rules to go back and make any adjustments that we're possibly able to make. Step one is, is this the right number? Are these the right numbers? It's not impossible. If nobody's been making source payments over the last number of years, $500,000, if you've got a reasonable sized payroll, you're only talking about 3 or 4 years of payroll and source deductions to get to that kind of number.
Okay. All right. I guess the last couple of quick things here then is, what is the absolute punishment if we don't pay the source deductions?
They'll seize assets. Now, this gets into more legal realm, but they will seize assets. They'll seize bank accounts from the company. They would look to, at some point, if all of that was exhausted, they were getting no money. At some point, they would look to the directors. But step one, they would go after corporate assets, bank accounts, accounts receivable, all of it.
Okay, wait, hold on. I think I know what you're talking about here. So let's cover this for a second. All of the trucks and the cars, everything that we use is actually held by a holding company and rented back to our company for $1 a year. So would they be able to chase the assets in the other company that we rent?
That's beyond the scope of my practice. They might be able to in the right circumstances, but I can't really say that they would or would not be able to.
Yeah, because I heard that you can have like 50 numbered corporations, and each one can own a bunch of stuff and rent it back to your operating company, and the CRA can't touch it because the holding companies don't do tax returns. Is that right or wrong?
No, that doesn't sound right.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the holding company still has to do tax returns. You can own equipment and rent it out to another company.
Right.
CRA could look at this as a corporate group and potentially look to other companies for assets if there's common ownership, things like that. Again, beyond the scope of my practice and beyond the scope of this conversation, to be honest, of whether they could go after other corporations. But they would take legal action and use every measure possible to collect the money that's owed, is the short answer.
Okay. So let me ask you this other question then, because this is something we were talking about last night over dinner. If the CRA representatives get really aggressive and whatnot, would you actually help us find them so we could serve them cease and desist letters to their homes?
No.
Oh, why not?
I'm not going after CRA agents to their homes. There's a complaint channel that you can utilize if you feel like they're offside. And based on what you said, it sounds like they were pretty aggressive with you. But yeah, I'm not going to start going after CRA agents at their homes.
Do you mind if I ask why? Because they go after everybody else's homes.
This is just not something. There's a process. There's a process to follow if you want to make a complaint with CRA. Anything else? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what other options there are other than a complaint process.
Okay, so some of the thoughts we were having is criminal charges against the individual representative, big lawsuit against the individual representative. We get a private investigator and find them and put liens on their property and sue them and then get them to cease and desist. That's what I'm thinking. But it sounds like you don't do that.
No, that's not something I'd be interested in even discussing, to be honest with you. This sounds like it's getting a little bit over a line here.
Well, I don't see where it's over the line. I mean, don't they have to abide by the same laws that you and I do?
They do. They do. I would start with the complaint process. If you feel like it gives rise to something more than that, then absolutely you should talk to a lawyer and make sure you know what your rights and what your options are for sure.
But not the police.
You know what? I'm not going to say you should or shouldn't call the police. I think you'd start with the complaint and a lawyer. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess
I'm not sure you can have them arrested.
Well, the last question then would be, what about going to the local courthouse and filing criminal charges there? I think they call that laying up private information. We don't need the police for that, right?
Maybe. I can't speak to that at all.
Would you ever do that?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're telling me then if we have $800,000 in debt, there's no way to get out of it completely?
Potentially, there is no way to get out of it completely.
And what if
you owe the money, you owe the money. Okay. CRA is going to come and collect it.
And you have no way to stop them?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I mean, we would look at, again, every opportunity there is for whatever options there are to taxpayer relief, or it's too late for voluntary disclosure, but certainly, taxpayer relief, anything like that. If you feel like the number's wrong, we could work on something like that. But I can't just get them to not like the money that you owe if you actually owe it. All
right. So the last question then would be that I had a letter from an auditor, then we got a phone call from an auditor, and he says he's coming by April 14th, I think he said. He just wants to show up. And he gave us this page of everything he wants to look at. And he didn't offer us any compensation proposals for our time. Do we have to let that guy into our office?
Yes is the short answer.
Really?
I mean, the CRA has the right to come and audit your books and records. This is getting into more legal arena. So,
but could I not just issue a no trespassing notice to him? Is that something you would do?
No, not something I would do. Not something I even want to comment on. So, I think you need to talk to a lawyer about what you may need, what your options may be.
All right. So you don't think that putting a no trespassing notice on the door to the CRA is a good idea?
I don't think so, no.
What would they do if they can't come in?
You know what? I don't even want to continue on with this conversation, to be honest with you, David. I appreciate you've got some issues there that need to get sorted out, but I've offered you some options of what's available. I think maybe you talk to a lawyer if you want to go that route and see what other options you have. But not something I think I'm interested in working on.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. And there you have it. Mark Jones, the accountant of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, is completely CRA compliant and will cost you a fortune in taxes if you go to him to get your taxes fixed. You heard him say it himself. He's not going to fix your taxes. He's going to make sure that you pay taxes. And bankruptcy, that's all that he's saying. Go bankrupt or pay your tax. Neither one of those are solutions. Not paying tax, fixing your books so that you don't pay tax, those are solutions. And when I say fixing your books, it's simply a matter of going through your books and finding all the errors that guys like this have made and correcting them and getting your tax returns resubmitted. Unlike what he said, you can go back between 10 and 20 years. He says 3. That's not a good accountant. What he's talking about is you can only go back 3 years on their software, but we can go back 20 years on paper. And if the CRA refuses to accept what we submit, we simply appeal it and push it into tax court. But either way, you do not owe tax dollars because we are invoking Clause 7 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. And that is, you do not owe any tax dollars so long as we are disputing the amounts that they have assessed. True story. You want to make money and keep it? You want to stop paying tax the rest of your life? Get a hold of me right now at KevinJJohnston.com.